DreAllDay.com. DreAllDay.com. I want to share my thoughts on this Ime Udoka situation, and also I guess somehow people have masterfully tied this into the Brett Favre situation. So let's talk about all of it. So most of y'all probably know, if you're watching this video, you know what happened. So Ime Udoka, it has been revealed that he had a consensual, intimate relationship with somebody who works for the Celtics. We don't know who. I don't know who works for the Celtics, but yeah, I heard that a bunch of people was like posting stuff on social media, like who it might be, and posting pictures of the women who work for the Celtics and who he might be messing with and all that stuff. And then he's in a relationship with Nia Long, but not married to her. So people are talking about that and all that. So whatever. He had a sexual relationship with somebody in the organization. He's not supposed to do that. Allegedly, this is not the first time he's crossed that line. So he got suspended for a year, which I've never heard of a coach getting suspended for a year, especially for something like this. So this is unprecedented territory that's being covered here in this situation. And then at the same time, the other thing is, and this is what happened. A bunch of people got on social media talking about, oh, well, if y'all going to make noise about Ime Udoka and his transgression, getting suspended for that, why don't you make the same noise about Brett Favre and what he did? So Brett Favre, former NFL quarterback, Hall of Famer. I think he's already in the Hall of Fame. If he's not, then he's going to be. Brett Favre got into some shady dealing with some politicians where he's from, and basically got some funds that was supposed to go to the welfare system and got those funds rerouted and somehow routed to him to get a volleyball stadium built at the school that his daughter plays volleyball at. And this is a violation. Brett Favre is going to go to court, and he's going to get arraigned for that. And Brett Favre is probably going to face a legal penalty for being involved in that. I mean, we don't know all the details of it, but the way it looked like Brett Favre probably violated some law. He and multiple other people together violated some laws. He's probably going to go to jail for that. And people are trying to make this into, oh, why don't you make the same noise about Brett Favre as you did Ime Udoka? First of all, let's get a few things clear. Number one, nobody's mad at Ime Udoka. Is anybody mad about what happened to Ime Udoka? Nobody is. All right, if you violated the rule, all right, there are rules in the workforce that says you're not supposed to do whatever he did. Clearly, he violated the rules, and he faced a penalty for violating the rules. Nobody has a problem with the fact that he's facing the penalty for violating the rules. Stephen A. Smith tried to make this into a thing. He twisted himself around like a pretzel, trying to make the Celtics wrong somehow, some way. No, Stephen A., I get what you're doing. Stephen A. Smith used to be a journalist. He's not a journalist anymore. Now he's basically a PR flat for the woke agenda. And I'm not mad at Stephen A. Smith for doing this. I'm not even trying to be facetious in saying what I'm saying. Stephen A. Smith is probably the highest paid on-air personality at ESPN. ESPN has gone this route. ESPN, owned by Disney, has gone this route that they want to speak up for the woke agenda. They're all in on it. And Stephen A. Smith is an employee. Stephen A. Smith works for ESPN. He has bosses. His bosses tell him what he's allowed to say and what he's not allowed to say. And to get that check that he gets from ESPN, that big check he gets from ESPN, Stephen A. Smith got to do what his bosses tell him to do. Stephen A. Smith's a worker. It might not feel like it because of his prestige and his job title, but he's a worker, and he has to do what he's told. And he can't do what he's told he can't do. And because of that, Stephen A. Smith is not allowed to be a journalist anymore. And this is where we've gone. So this is kind of a bigger conversation on a different subject, but the reason that journalism is dying in America is not because the journalists no longer have the ability to do journalism, is because their bosses are telling them you can't say certain things. There are certain things they're not allowed to say, and certain things that they have to say that they may not want to, and certain things they want to say that they can't because their bosses are telling them. So journalists, even though I have vocally said this, I've said this many times in many videos and in my podcasts and in my articles, journalism is dying in America because journalists are not doing the job that they were trained to do. It's not 100% the journalists' fault that they're not doing their jobs anymore. It's their bosses, their employers are telling them that they have to say things that they probably wouldn't say if they were allowed to speak to their journalistic integrity. So when Stephen A. Smith came out and said all the stuff that he said with the BYU thing where he made himself look really stupid, and now this one where he's making himself look stupid again, less stupid, but still stupid, is not 100% his fault. All right, his bosses are calling the shots. He's receiving a check. You receive a paycheck. You're not the boss. He receives a paycheck. He's not the boss. So don't be 100% mad at Stephen A. Smith for saying what he's saying. And even if you're a fan of his, don't think that everything he's saying is just straight up his actual thoughts. It is what he's allowed and what he's not allowed. And a lot of you don't quite understand that, but I'm gonna keep preaching it to you until you do. So anyway, people are like, well, why don't y'all make the same noise about Brett Favre that you made about Ime Udoka, which makes no sense. First of all, nobody's mad about Ime Udoka. We're just interested because anything that involves sexual transgressions, that just draws people's attention. It's an interesting topic. Sex is the #1 selling product on the internet. A lot of y'all may not know that. #1 selling product on the internet is sex. In other words, if you add up all the sex websites on the internet, like porn and all that stuff, those websites make more money than gambling, than information products, than sports, than politics, than whatever other health, fitness. #1 product that sells on the internet is sex. So any topic that involves sex is going to sell better than other topics. All right, that's just simply what it is. All right, this is why think of a company like ESPN. If you look at them over the years, look how they have incorporated putting these women who are usually fairly attractive women, they put them as hosts of these TV shows, right? Like the Stephen A. Smith and it was Max Kellerman. I don't know who's his host on First Take now. It was Stephen A. and Skip Bayless. That's when the show was actually good. I mean, sometimes they talk about some nonsense, but it was a good show because both of them are good at what they do. Stephen A. and Skip. I mean, Stephen A. and Skip. Even if you disagree with them, they're good at getting you to pay attention. The show, and whoever they got the host now, but the host is usually some woman who really, for the most part, let's be honest, doesn't really have anything to add to the conversation. But she's just there, and she's usually physically attractive. And why is this? Because having a physically attractive woman on the set, as opposed to, let's say I was the host, like put me in the place of who's the chick that was married to Jalen Rose, the host? Molly? Is her name Molly? Let's say I was the person instead of Molly, right? But I'm not allowed to like get in the conversation. I'm just hosting. I'm just kind of like moderating and moving the conversation along. It would draw fewer people with me in place of Molly. Molly draws more people than I do because Molly's presence, just having a physically attractive woman on the set, will draw more men to watch the show. That's just a fact. And this is what ESPN has jumped into this. They jumped into this, get more men into it. And y'all gotta remember that ESPN is a TV show. All right, if you look to ESPN for journalism, every once in a while it does happen. It's few and far between. Every once in a while it does happen, but that's not what they do. ESPN is a entertainment network. All right, that's the first letter in ESPN's, that E stands for entertainment. ESPN is about entertainment. That's the #1 thing that they do because entertainment sells more than journalism. Entertainment makes more money than journalism, and ESPN is in the business of making money. All right, that's how they can pay their online personalities or their on-air personalities as much money as they can because they're in the entertainment business. Anyway, I went on a deep tangent there. The whole point is this. People are like, well, some people try to make this argument, which makes no sense. The Brett Favre situation, he actually violated it looks like he has violated a law, and he's going to be he's going to get his day in court and get to argue his case. But Brett Favre is probably going to face a penalty for what he did, a criminal penalty for what it looks like he did. Ime Udoka did not violate any laws. He violated the rules at his job, for which he is facing a year-long suspension. Yeah, everything seems fine to me. Here's what has happened here, and this is a societal point, is that social media and the woke agenda, specifically driven by social media, has conditioned so many people, some of you who are watching this right now, to look at everything that happens through a racial lens. Everything got to be looked at through race. Okay, so a black coach got suspended for violating the rules at his job. Ime Udoka at his job violated the rule, and a white guy is going to face some kind of penalty for allegedly, looks like he violated the law at what he did. And somehow, some way, people are trying to draw a parallel between the Udoka situation and Brett Favre situation. They have nothing to do with each other at all. Brett Favre is a retired NFL player. He don't play in the NFL anymore. And then people try to bring up Mike Vick or something like that. Mike Vick got into a criminal situation while he was playing. He was at the top of his game when that happened, Mike Vick. Mike Vick was like, had $100 million What do you have to give back? Mike Vick gave back like $150 million in a signing bonus when that whole dog situation popped off. Now, what Mike Vick actually did, was it really as egregious as what he got penalized for? Let's be honest. No, it was not. Now, I'm not saying it's okay to be cruel to dogs, but at the same time, it was dogs. Right? It was dogs. Again, I'm not against dogs. I love dogs. But what Mike Vick did was to dogs. And the only reason it became a big deal is because he was Mike Vick. If that had been some regular neighborhood dude off the corner doing the same thing, the cops probably wouldn't have even pursued it. They pursued it because it was Mike Vick and he's a big catch. And this is a whole different conversation. That it just goes into the politics of how the criminal justice system works. Catching a big fish doing something wrong like Mike Vick and making a big deal out of it is part of the hustle of the criminal justice system. And if you know anything about the criminal justice system, you know I'm 100% accurate in saying that. I'm not saying that it's okay what Mike Vick did to dogs, but if he wasn't Mike Vick, if he was some dude making 50 grand a year, got caught doing that, nobody would give a damn, and he wouldn't have got the kind of penalty that he got. That's just how it is. Anyway, the fact that there's a black guy and a white guy both happen to get into situations at the same time, people trying to draw these parallels. This is what social media has done. This is what the woke agenda has done. It has everybody thinking race every time something happens. Oh, why y'all making more noise about the black guy than about the white guy? Listen, both people did something wrong. Both people have apparently been caught, and both people are going to face penalty. Brett Favre is going to face a penalty on it looks like, again, I got to keep saying that because we don't know yet, on the criminal level for his actions. Ime Udoka did not commit a criminal, he didn't do anything criminal, but he faces a penalty from his bosses because he is an employee and he's got to face the penalty. He already got it. He got a 1-year suspension. Boston is still saying they hold the right to, or they're withholding whether or not he's going to come back or not come back. He might not even come back as the coach because of this situation. Because allegedly, again, we don't know all the details. They're probably going to come out at some point. What exactly happened? Who exactly it happened with? And allegedly, the person he did it with is allegedly already in a relationship. So this person might be married. So he might be messing with a married woman at his job while he's the head coach. And allegedly, he's been in situations before where he's been warned, like, yo, like, watch what you're doing out here. And, okay, so this looks like a stickier situation than what we even know so far. But we don't know all the details. We do know he's been suspended. We know it was consensual. We know it was sexual. So, the bigger point here has nothing to do about Ime Udoka or Brett Favre, because the governing bodies, based on both of their situations, the Boston Celtics in one, respectively, and the other one being probably the criminal system in the state of, I believe, Mississippi, where Brett Favre had this whole situation take place, they will handle the situations as they see fit. And what social media says probably doesn't and should not have anything to do with how those situations get meted out. Now, this whole thing with many people, including some of you, immediately running to the race topic every time something comes up. As a white person, just trash them to the fullest extent. As a black person, we got to give them a little bit of grace just because they happen to be black. Bullshit. Everybody needs to be judged on the standards of whatever their organization is doing, regardless of who they are. Period. That's how well-run organizations do things. Like the Boston Celtics, all right, there's a black guy, but black guy violated, black guy gets suspended. That's the rules. In the state of Mississippi, Brett Favre is a white guy. White guy violates, white guy got to face the consequences of his actions. That's the exact way that it's supposed to work. And somehow social media has gotten people, and social media / the woke agenda has gotten everybody turning everything into race. So a black person, why they judging them harsher, or a white person, why they judging them easier? Not at all. That's not the situation at all here. Let's start looking at things. Here's my challenge to you, everybody who's watching this. Let's start looking at things objectively again. As they are, regardless of the color of the person involved. Let's judge things as they happen. Judge things based on the principles and the rules and the standards that are in place where this thing takes place. And let's just look at things clearly as they actually are. I mean, that's the only thing I can keep saying. And hopefully we can get back to people thinking rationally again. Because right now, a lot of people aren't able to think rationally on any subject, where as soon as they see the color of the people involved, everybody's immediately jumping to some kind of conclusion that somebody's wrong, or somebody's being it's being overdone or underdone based on the color of the person, of the people involved, whether that's the person who is in violation or is the person who is being held accountable for their actions. And I wish things weren't going like this. I really do. I wish things weren't going like this, but the woke agenda has done a great job of emotionalizing people's rational thinking. That rational thinking has been completely suspended these days. This is why journalists can't do journalism. This is why consumers can't look at things objectively anymore, because everybody has been trained to immediately go to the emotional, which is something that involves race. Race is an emotional topic for so many people. Such an emotional topic that they can't look at anything rationally or logically as soon as it involves race, because it must mean somebody's being done wrong just based on the color of their skin, or not being held accountable based on the color of their skin. Like the white person getting off easy, the black person getting harsher. No, that's bullshit. I'm challenging you, viewer, to learn to think rationally again. Learn to look at things objectively again. Turn your emotions off and look at things again straight up and down logically, because this is the way that we can get back to some sensibility in our society. We need clear thinking people, and when the consumers, people like you and I, are clear thinking and we demand rationality and objectivity in what we're being told, then what's going to happen is companies like ESPN and the New York Times and CNN and all your favorite media outlets, all of them on every side of the aisle, they will realize, okay, the consumers want rationality and objectivity again. We need to give them what they want, because if we don't give them that, they're not going to pay attention to us, and therefore we can't make money. They respond to the money. So we got to demand to them that we want rationality and objectivity in what you share, and they're going to give it to us. But if we don't demand it, and we keep reacting and responding to and basically paying them with our attention when they put out the BS that's all emotionalized and making everything about race, well, guess what? They're going to keep doing it, because they're incentivized to do it. Human beings respond to incentives. So when you, and Stephen A. Smith is a human being. People who run Disney, who own ESPN, they are human beings. The people at the New York Times, they are human beings. Your favorite journalists and columnists and people who used to be actual objective journalists, they are human beings as well. They all respond to incentives. If they are incentivized to make everything that comes up about race, they will do it, because that's their incentive. Their incentive is they get likes and comments and followers and social media attention, which leads to them making money, and that gives them a bigger contract. But if the consumers, people like us, say, you know what, we don't want that bullshit anymore, give us some objective reporting and look at things rationally again, they will start doing it. But they're only responding to what we're reacting to. So I'm putting this on the consumers. I'm not putting it on them. I'm putting it on the consumers. Y'all stop reacting to the nonsense, they'll stop delivering the nonsense. So that's where I'm at. Y'all tell me what you think. Tell me if I got something wrong. Text me at my number 305-384-6894 to get my motivation text every time it comes out. And then go to workonyourgame.net, get my free training where I'll share with you how do you get to the next level in your business. Whether you want to get to that 6-figure level or the 7-figure level, I have programs for both. I didn't have programs for both before. I got programs for both now, so I'll be able to help everybody who wants to get themselves to that next level. That's at workonyourgame.net. Watch the training. At the end of the training, I'll give you a link to where you can schedule a call with me, and we can talk about how you can get to that next level in your business. Again, that's workonyourgame.net. Work on your game. Dre, all